Have you ever heard of a striker who scores just 17 goals in almost 100 games for a club, yet is still worshipped as a hero years and years after he left? I mean, it sounds completely backward, right? But it's the absolutely true story of one of football's most fascinating careers. Okay, so let's really dive into this because we're going to unpack the very curious case of Diego Forlán at Manchester United. Now, this is a story where when you just look at the stats, the numbers don't add up to the legend at all. But as you're about to see, the numbers, well, they rarely tell the whole story. And this is the paradox right here, laid bare. On one side, you've got this image of a player who's just struggling, a goal tally that for a £10 million striker just wasn't cutting it. But then on the other side, you've got this pure, unadulterated love from the fans, who still sing about him to this day. So how do we get from one to the other? Well, to solve this whole puzzle, we have to go way back, all the way back to the beginning. Because, and you might not believe this, Diego Forlán was never even supposed to be a footballer. You'd think football was in his blood, right? I mean, his dad played for Uruguay, his grandfather coached them. It was a football dynasty. But nope, young Diego was different. He was actually a really gifted tennis player with a seriously promising future on the court. And then, in an instant, everything changed. A truly horrific family tragedy led to this profound, life-altering promise. At just 12 years old, he made a vow to his sister. And that vow would become the fuel for the relentless work ethic that defined his entire career. So, running on the power of that promise, he makes a name for himself over in Argentina and gets that absolute dream move to Manchester United in 2002. But the theater of dreams, well, it very quickly became a stage for his biggest struggles. 27. That is how many games it took him to score his first goal. Can you imagine that? For a big money striker at one of the biggest clubs in the world, playing for the legendary Sir Alex Ferguson, that silence must have been absolutely agonizing. And the media pressure, oh, it was just relentless. They gave him the cruel nickname Diego Forlorn, and every single missed chance to seem to weigh more heavily than the last. He literally became a punchline. But here's the thing. Even when the goals weren't going in, that promise he made to his sister all those years ago kept him going. He'd stay behind, long after his teammates had gone home, just shooting, over and over and over, honing his craft, and even turning his weaker left foot into a serious weapon. And then came the day. The one day that would completely define his time in England and build his legend forever. December 1st, 2002, at Anfield, the incredibly hostile home of Manchester United's fiercest rivals, Liverpool. It was just this astonishing burst of pure brilliance, 2 goals in only 3 minutes. I mean, in the one stadium where a win means more to United fans than pretty much anywhere else on earth, the struggling striker delivered an unforgettable, match-winning performance. And just like that, with 2 swift kicks of a football, a legendary chant was born. Those 2 goals, they created a cult hero status that his overall statistics could never, ever explain. It was pure football folklore, written in real time. Now, despite that iconic moment, his time at United did end in 2004. But this wasn't the end of his story, not even close. In fact, it was the start of a spectacular rebirth. He moved to Spain to play for Villarreal, and the change was, well, it was instant and it was stunning. Get this. In his very first season, he scored 25 goals. That's more than he managed in his entire 3-year career at Manchester United. And he wasn't just good in Spain, he was genuinely world-class. Once he was freed from that intense pressure of the English media, he just exploded. He ended up winning the European Golden Boot not once but twice. He became one of the most feared strikers on the continent, a true late bloomer who finally caught fire at age 25. His absolute peak, though, came at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. And that tournament was really defined by the chaos of one single object, the infamous Jabulani ball. Players absolutely hated it. They said it flew around like some cheap ball you'd buy at a supermarket. But while everyone else was complaining about it, what was Forlán doing? He was working. He saw the ball's crazy flight path not as a problem, but as a puzzle he could solve. He didn't just put up with the Jabulani, he weaponized it, scoring 5 absolutely sensational, swerving goals and basically carrying Uruguay to an unexpected 4th-place finish. And at 31 years old, He was officially named the best player on the planet's biggest stage. It was the ultimate redemption story. The so-called flop from Manchester was now, without a doubt, one of the best in the world. So when you look back, how should we remember a player like Diego Forlán? His career is just this incredible lesson in resilience, in the importance of just showing up in those big moments, and above all, in the unbelievable power of keeping a promise. After this long, globe-trotting career that took him everywhere from Europe to India to Hong Kong, he finally hung up his boots, his legacy completely secure. But in this amazing, kind of beautiful final chapter, at 45 years old, he went back to his very first love. He finally fulfilled that childhood dream he had to put aside all those years ago by making his professional tennis debut. So what does Diego Forlán's career really teach us? I think maybe it's that true greatness. It isn't something you can find on a spreadsheet. It's forged in a promise, it's tested by failure, and it's made immortal in that one single unforgettable moment that makes thousands of people sing your name, long, long after the game is over.